The title of today's message is Off the Bench. I think I might have shared this story before. I grew up playing some soccer, growing up in Brazil. We didn't play football. We played flag football, which is not really football, but looks like it a little. And played some basketball. We had a basketball deal in the backyard. When your father is 6'9" and you're 5'2", it does make things a little interesting, especially when he's competitive. So finally grew a little bit, but I still remember trying out for these basketball teams. Good coach, good guy. He wasn't being unfair. And there was always a day when you came to school and he would put the list on the bulletin board outside of his office. Did anybody play any sports where you had to go check and see if you were on the list? It was a disastrous evening before. You didn't know what was going to happen, and you're just, looking for your name, and then your name wasn't there. And then finally one year, your name would be there. Made the team. I don't know that I was ever any kind of great ball player. Practiced hard, played hard. And then that was 9th, 10th, 11th grade in Brazil. Moved to the United States to a huge high school, Midway High School in Waco, Texas. And I'd never seen that many people. Just my class. There were more people in my class than there were in my suburb in Brazil. So. I thought, okay, I'll go try out for basketball. Another guy I met that summer, I'd go to the gym and shoot, try it out. And I made the team, and then, as I've shared maybe before, this coach, I won't speak his name, God rest his soul. Anyhow, I don't know if he's dead or alive, but anyhow. So he sat me down, the two of us, this other guy was a senior as well, and he said, look, you're seniors, I'm going to put you on the team, but you will not play. Now that's a really weird moment for a ball player. The other guy who I ended up being great friends with, he said, I'm not doing this. Not that he quit, he just realized he wouldn't get to play, and I thought, no, I'm going to wear this old man out. And he thought I was going to quit too, which I did not, and I'd go to practice, I'd run the laps, run the lines, do everything he said to do, and I was going to try to find a bench and put it up here, but if you can imagine a big long bench that ended over there by the speaker, I sat in a chair on the other, off the bench over there. I was so far down the bench, he didn't even know I was there. But you show up, and eventually, it kind of wore the team out because they saw me working hard, trying, doing my deal, and they realized this isn't right. And this old guy's just locked up, gotten pride, kind of proud. He said you wouldn't play. And then I remember on a given day, he finally said, Ellis, you're in the game. Now that was a crazy day because I got to play. I didn't play long. I didn't take long. But I'm going to tell you why I tell you the story. I hadn't spent the whole time being bitter about not being in the game. I was ready in case my name got called. Because I'm not the coach. And whether the coach is healthy or not, if he says you're in, you're in. If he says you're not, you're not. And you got to get your head around that. I had a great conversation with a dear friend who played baseball, basketball growing up. And for him, the challenge was he equated his self-worth to being in the game. And he would work and work and work so that he could get in the game and play. And if he didn't get to play, he wasn't a good person. He didn't know he had value apart from sports. And a lot of people get this stuff confused. I pulled just a few examples. Anybody remember Jeff Hostetler and Phil Simms? A little drama there. And, well, we could never do it without this guy. And then all of a sudden, boom, here's the replacement. Brett Favre, there were, even Jesus couldn't have replaced Brett Favre in some people's mind. And then an Aaron Rodgers comes out of nowhere, and then nobody even talks about Brett Favre. Joe Montana. Maybe you're not old enough to remember these people. And Steve Young, and then all of a sudden Joe's out, Steve's in, then it's nothing but Steve Young. Kurt Warner. This guy even had a movie made about him. It was so crazy. Does anybody remember who he replaced? That's fascinating. Trent Green. Nobody even knows who Trent Green is. But when it was time for Kurt Warner to get in the game, he was in the game, and kaboom, it went nuts. American underdog. And then Drew Bledsoe. Everybody thought Drew Bledsoe was the bomb until what? Tom Brady. So you say, well, but, I don't have the patience for that. If I'm not playing, I'm not sitting on any bench. I'm not going to learn anything. I'm not going to have a good attitude. And there's a good chance if you don't, then you won't. Because sometimes a coach is watching who you are when you're not on the field, who you are when you're not in the game, who you are when you are on the bench, to see if you have the right attitude that if he does put you in, you're ready to go. In the Bible, I've gone through some of these, but in the past, you got Moses, hands it off to Joshua. And pretty seamless transition. You think, well, there's nobody like Moses. Moses was about to die, God going to bury him, and Moses had to take over and get him in and get him over, and he did. Elijah and Elisha. You thought, well, man, there's nobody like Elijah. And then Elisha stays so close in there behind Elijah, it says and Elijah tells him, if you're here when I get taken up into heaven, and you'll get a double portion of my blessing. And he stayed there ready to go. And God used them both. But I'd like to take you to Acts chapter 1 today. And in Acts chapter 1, Jesus is gone. And let's just read through this a minute, if you don't mind. Acts chapter 1, verse 1, the former account I made, O Theophilus, of all that Jesus began both to do and teach until the day in which he was taken up, after he, through the Holy Spirit, had given commandments to the apostles whom he had chosen. Okay, so that's important. What commandments had he given them, his apostles whom he had chosen? Anybody remember? Last thing he says before he leaves, make disciples. Now, I keep pounding on this, and if you stay around here, I'm going to die trying. Right? This is the last thing he says to them. These are the instructions that he gives them before he leaves, these apostles who he had chosen, to whom he also presented himself alive after his sufferings by many infallible proofs, being seen by them during 40 days and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of God. So he had appear, disappear till the day of Pentecost. And being assembled together with them, he commanded them not to depart from Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which he said, you have heard from me. For John truly baptized with water, but you shall be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days from now. In other words, this promise that he's made of the Holy Spirit was coming, and then he came. Verse 6, therefore when they had come together, they asked him, saying, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom of Israel? And he said to them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father has put in his own authority, for you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem, in all Judea and Samaria, and to the end of the earth. And I go back to this about the Holy Spirit. Jesus said, follow me, I'll make you fishers of men. When the Holy Spirit comes, he says, you will receive power, and what will be the result of that power? You shall be witnesses to me, not just in Jerusalem, but Judea, Samaria, to the end of the earth. So when the Holy Spirit moves in, eventually at some point, something has to kick in where we are his witnesses. Now, when he had spoken these things, when they watched, he was taken up. A cloud received him out of their sight, and when they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, and also said, men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will so come in like manner as you saw him go into heaven. Like he went up, he's coming down. The same Jesus. Then they returned to Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is near Jerusalem, a Sabbath day's journey. And when they had entered, they went up into the upper room where they were staying, Peter, James, John, and Andrew, Philip, and Thomas, Bartholomew and Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon the Zealot, and Judas the son of James. These all continued with one accord in prayer and supplication with the women and Mary the mother of Jesus and his brothers. And in those days, Peter stood up in the midst of the disciples. Altogether, the number of names was about 120. So this is important. You've got the 11, you've got 120 total in this room, and said, men and brethren, this scripture had to be fulfilled, which the Holy Spirit spoke before by the mouth of David concerning Judas. So what is he going to speak to in this gathering, this group of believers who are there? He's going to bring up Judas Iscariot, who became a guide to those who arrested Jesus. For he was numbered with us and obtained a part in this ministry. And this is still one of my perplexities. I think I've shared this too. I've finally arrived looking at scripture that Judas did not make heaven, and it is catastrophic. And I'm telling you, it is beyond catastrophic. God himself comes to the planet in a man born of a virgin, lives a sinless life, and you are one of 12 men that he picks, and you are with him like the rest of them. And you turn out to be the betrayer. You turn out where Jesus said things like it'd been better for this man not to ever have been born. That is not what you want said about you. And the disaster to me for human beings in this room who listen, who come and go, that we interact with, and you share the gospel, you tell them that God loves them, that Jesus died on a cross, was buried, raised from the dead. They hear it. It's on the tip of their tongue, and they will not confess that Jesus is Lord. They will not believe, and they don't make it. How can you get that close and not make it? And this thing about Judas is mind-boggling, that he was not close. He was in the inner circle and missed it. Keep reading. He was numbered with us and obtained a part in this ministry. Verse 18, now this man purchased a field with the wages of iniquity, and falling headlong, he burst open in the middle, and all his entrails gushed out, and it became known to all those dwelling in Jerusalem. So that field is called in their own language Akeldama, that is, field of blood. So we know what happened. He regrets. I don't think he repented. He just felt bad that he had betrayed Jesus, takes the money, throws it back at him, goes out and hangs himself, commits suicide. And they bury him in this place. Verse 20, for it is written in the book of Psalms, let his dwelling place be desolate, and let no one live in it, and let another take his office. So he's quoting here Psalm 69:25 and 109:8. These two Psalms Peter brings together to address the Judas issue and what had happened to him and what they were about to do. So the second part of this is let another take his office. And then look at verse 21. Therefore, of these men who have accompanied us all the time that the Lord Jesus went in and out among us, beginning from the baptism of John to the day when he was taken up from us, one of these must become a witness with us of his resurrection. So there is a group of people. There are at least two men. We'll see these in a second. There are at least two men who were not picked as part of the original 12. But somehow they were there the whole time, never mentioned, and the one they pick is never mentioned again. And I think there are people in the world who say, well, I don't have that office. I don't have that position. I didn't get picked. If you're a Christian, you got picked. You say, but I want some title. Christian. There's your title. Child of God, servant of the Most High God, beloved. You say, well, but I want more. I want more. That's his call. So this is what is so kind of bizarre to me. When they're about to pick two people, they're about to pick one of two that they've put out here in the midst of all these people, and these two guys had been with the pack the whole time. But the focus is not on these two guys, either one of them, it's on the 12. And Jesus was focusing on the 12, but there were people on the bench that nobody knew about. And apparently these two guys are still there with the 120. They're still part of this group, but they had the right attitude. There's no indication they were like, well, this sucks. Why didn't I get this Judas guy? Clearly he's stealing from everybody. Look, Jesus really messed up. Judas betrayed him. He should have picked me to begin with. Stop whining at God about what he's done or not done. Because what will happen to you if you're not careful is you'll spend your life upset that he didn't put you in some higher place and miss the place that he gave you and the work that he gave you. So not sure I'll even be able to explain this. You get one shot down here, you get one life. I'm the 6th generation of preachers in my family, and I grew up around some of the biggest names in the Christian world. And at 14, when God called me to preach, which is one of the highest honors you can have, and I acknowledge that, I thought that by now, I would pastor some huge mega church in some suburb somewhere with a bunch of white people, because that's where it went. This is not what I dreamed up. This is not what was supposed to happen to me. You were not what was supposed to happen to me. There was supposed to be more. There was supposed to be more accolades. There was supposed to be more recognition. There was supposed to be more whatever there was supposed to be more of. But here I am. Now, why am I here? Because this is where he told me to be. Now, you say, so why is that a big deal to you? Because if you somehow push and force and make something happen that God never intended for you to do, and you miss the gift, the privilege, the preciousness of what he has for you like I have here, oh my gosh, it's a cataclysmic disaster. The only problem with going that other route for me is I would miss you, not a crowd, individual people. Thousands of individual people over the years that if I had gone the other way, I would have just been swapping one herd for another herd. Now, this is going to sound a little twisted. I don't ever question whether I could have gone that way and done that. If this is where he has for me to be, and listen, really don't misunderstand what I'm telling you. I am very gifted at what I do because God has given me a gift, and I've chosen to let him use me, and you can do the same thing. But if he chose to put me here with you, you must be somebody. You must be somebody. And I keep trying to explain this in the stories. Could I find a more sophisticated crowd somewhere? Maybe. Could I find a smarter crowd somewhere? Maybe. Could I find a richer crowd somewhere? Maybe. But what if this is the chosen crowd, the willing crowd, the people that if they will just let go, God could take the planet with? What if that's what's in here? So for me, this is a crazy privilege. It's discouraging at times because people are flakes. So am I. And you pour your life into people and they quit. But there are some people who stay the course. And they listen, and they are present, and they absorb. And then one day, the coach, you're in. Now, they've been in all the time, but now they're in a place to be acknowledged and say, you're up. So go back to verse 21. Therefore, of these men who have accompanied us all the time, so these two guys that we're going to mention here have been with us all the time that the Lord Jesus went in and out among us, beginning from the baptism of John to that day when he was taken up from us. So they have been here through this whole ordeal. One of these must become a witness with us of his resurrection, to be able to say, we saw the whole thing, all the way through his resurrection, his ascension, we were here. And they propose two. So Peter, this group, they identify at least two men who have been there through this whole thing that could be in a position to replace Judas Iscariot. One of them is Joseph, called Barsabbas, who was surnamed Justus, and Matthias. And they prayed and said, you, Lord, who know the hearts of all, show which of these two you have chosen to take part in this ministry and apostleship from which Judas by transgression fell, that he might go to his own place. And they cast their lots, and the lots fell on Matthias, and he was numbered with the 11 apostles. Just like that, he goes from being nobody, in obscurity, from a scriptural standpoint. Those people all knew him, or they wouldn't have nominated him. And they cast lots. God says, Matthias is it, and boom, we have the 12th replacement apostle. So here's my question for you. You say, well, I feel like I'm on the bench. Are you running the plays? Are you in shape? If God were to say, okay, I know you've been doing it, you've been here with us the whole time, but now I have something greater for you. I have something with more responsibility for you. Are you ready? Apparently, two were ready. They were so both ready, I guess God could have picked either one and been fine, but he chose Matthias, and there you go. And I'm going to say what I said a minute ago. Your attitude may be destroying your opportunities. You won't let go of something. And this is not just for people in the room, but people watching and listening beyond here. You say, well, some preacher, some church, somebody. You know what? You got to get over stuff. If you don't forgive people, people who don't forgive have no future. If you can't get past your past, you can't move forward. And God sees your heart. God sees your attitude. Other people see your heart, see your attitude. And you say, well, why wouldn't someone pick me to put me in responsibility? If you thought about it, even you wouldn't put you in a position of authority. You'd be nuts. You go, yeah, well, you say that. Yeah, I'd be a terrible person. Yeah, exactly. Can that change? Yes. Go to Acts chapter 4 really quick. And let's talk a minute about what Matthias and Justus had seen and what made them qualified. Acts chapter 4, verse 13. Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were uneducated and untrained men, they marveled and they realized that they had been with Jesus. So crazy, so simple. Through the years of doing this, I try to find some seminary guys that want to be pastors and will offer to meet with them as much as they want to meet. Now you say, well, you spend time with them. Why do you spend time with them? I'm trying to disciple these guys and prepare them a little bit for what's coming and talk to them about that. But there is no substitute for them spending time with Jesus. And you can it's interesting, you can tell a man or a woman who is educated, they have a lot of knowledge, but the only way you get wisdom is from him. And a lot of smart people are really stupid. They're very unwise. So I try to watch for people who understand that if you don't spend time with Jesus, you're not going to know what to do. You'll have nowhere to take people. You can teach them information. You can give them facts. You can help make them smarter, brain smart. But how are you going to teach them how to live the Christian life? Look what these guys had seen. Keep reading here in Acts chapter 4. They had been with Jesus, and seeing the man who had been healed standing with them, they could say nothing against it. But when they had commanded them to go aside out of the council, they conferred among themselves, saying, what shall we do to these men? For indeed that a notable miracle has been done through them is evident to all who dwell in Jerusalem, and we cannot deny it. But so that it spreads no further among the people, let us severely threaten them that from now on they speak to no man in his name. Sounds like something come out of HR. You can stay here, but we're warning you, if you speak this name again, you're gonna lose your job. Okay, whatever. So they called them, commanded them not to speak at all, nor teach in the name of Jesus. But Peter and John answered and said to them, whether it is right in the sight of God to listen to you more than to God, you judge. For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. And if you remember the story before John the Baptist lost his head, he had questioned whether Jesus was the one or should they wait for another. And the message that was sent back in Luke 7:22 to him, he said, Jesus answered and said to them, go and tell John the things which you have seen and heard, that the blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, the poor have the gospel preached to them. That's what we're supposed to be about. So there's a boldness that comes with this. But there's also attitude. The Bible talks about humbling yourself under the mighty hand of God, and in due time, he will lift you up. If you lift yourself up, he will humble you. If you humble yourself, he will lift you up. Now you say, well, but I'm humbling myself. It's time. Then you haven't humbled yourself. Because you're sitting around trying to be all humble, thinking God's going to give you some position or make you important to somebody. I'm important to him. Who else do I need to be important to? Go to Mark chapter 3. Let me read you this too. We're going all over the place today, I know, but it's okay. This is about him picking the original 12. Mark 3:13, and he went up on the mountain and called to him those he himself wanted. So Judas clearly, for some reason, is one of those at that point. And they came to him. Then he appointed 12 that they might be with him and that he might send them out to preach and to have power to heal sicknesses and to cast out demons. Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter, and he goes and lists all the disciples. He picks them. And what was the purpose? He appointed the 12 that they might be with him and that he might send them out to preach and give them power to do what they did. I can't stress to you enough the importance of being with Jesus. You say, well, how do I do that? You spend time with him. Well, how do I spend time with him? Where is he? If you're a Christian, he's right there. You can't get closer to yourself than you are to Jesus. if you're a Christian. Why? Because he lives in you. You don't have to go anywhere to talk to someone who lives inside your body. So you say, well, I don't get that. Start talking to him. Read the scriptures. Develop a relationship. Ask him what he likes. Well, if you fell in love with somebody, what do you do? Well, what do you like to do? And tell me about yourself. Well, the first thing Jesus is going to direct you to is the scriptures. Okay, I'll tell you about myself. You can read about my dad, me, our whole life, our whole story. Then you start reading that and go, oh, wow, well, he likes people who trust him. He likes people who believe. He likes people who follow. He likes people who obey. He likes people who worship. Sing to him. Ask him what his favorite song is. Now here's the trick about this. Not what his favorite song is, it's what his favorite song that you sing to him is. You say, well, I don't know him like that. I don't think that's possible. But you want to get picked. You want God to put you somewhere. Other than Judas, who clearly he picked, and then Peter stands up at this gathering, picks Matthias, so the group is intact. I don't see a lot of nervous chatter between Jesus and the Father, or Jesus like anxious. He says what he's about. I've spent these 3 years with these guys. I'm giving them final instructions. Holy Spirit's about to come, and once he comes, it's all good. He's going to send another comforter just like he is, and you'll know it's me, it's him, it's the same person. You'll be good to go. Just do what I told you to do. So part of my personal goal in my brief life, and I shared this with some guys my age and a little older. Sure, it's this. But part of what I am trying to accomplish is to leave, maybe, if possible, specifically 12 men behind who, if I am laying on my deathbed and am about to be out of here, I can say, it's going to be okay. That I know I have found some faithful men who will teach others also behind. What you got? Oh, well, I'm not smart like you. If you only knew. Don't be calling any schools asking for my transcripts. I barely got out of school. And I'm sure there are lots of people who could argue me out of the building. But the thing you can't take from me is my Jesus. And that one day he let me see how much he loves me and how much I love him. And I am trying to pass that off to you. And whatever it is you've got to get over, some resentment, some unforgiveness, whatever it is that's blocked your whole life up, ask him to come uncork whatever it is, and let's go. Whatever time you got left, let's go, Lord. For some reason, I am fascinated by the story of one man who, when the Titanic was about to go completely under and people were on rafts freezing to death and dying, that man was swimming from person to person to person, sharing the gospel, praying with people, and I still have no idea how many people got saved in the frigid water around that sinking ship. He went out taking people with him. What are you doing? You say, well, I can't get off the bench. You may not even be in the building. Are you even a fan of Jesus? Much less want to play on his team. And have you put yourself in a position that someone can teach you the game? All those quarterbacks that I mentioned at the beginning, they couldn't very well have terrible attitudes and been prepared when the coach said, you're in the game. Someone's injured, you're up. Matthias, you're in. You say, well, what if he doesn't pick me? If you're a Christian, he already has. It's just a question of what you're going to be available to do. And if you're not a Christian, let's get in the game. You say, well, how do I do that? You say, God, I know you love me. I see that now. You sent your son Jesus to die on a cross, be buried and raised from the dead. So there's no question that you care about me. I'm a sinner. I need your forgiveness. I believe that he did all that for me. Come live in my life, change my mind, change my heart, change everything about me. New creation. And show me what you want me to do, who you want me to be, what you want me to do. And help me put things behind me that need to stay behind me and press forward. Father, thank you for your word. Thank you for men and women who are ready, have been ready, and will be ready. We've all got grievances. We've all got things that we're upset about along the way. Dreams, things we thought would happen, never did. A lot of people worried about being famous. Help us be a part of making you famous. Where all the glory goes to you, all the arrows point to you, all the blessing goes to you. So, Father, for anybody who might have already prayed or still thinking about it, simple. God, I'm a sinner. I can't fix any of this. I know something is terribly wrong. I am terrified to die. It's scary enough being alive. I can't make it work. I need you. I do believe that Jesus died on the cross, was buried and raised from the dead to pay for my sin, to offer me eternal life. So I accept this gift of eternal life, forgiveness of my sin. You, the whole package, you, come live in me and help me develop a relationship with you to show me how to live, what not to do, what to do, to learn what you like, what you love, how to serve you, how to obey you, how to trust you, how to follow you, how to be with you, and use my life in ways that no job, no position anywhere could come remotely close, because all of this connected to you will last forever. So save me. You're the only one who can. And Father, for believers who've just locked up, and you've sent them help. You've sent them people to love on them, to help them process their unforgiveness or whatever their issues may be. If anyone could be bitter, Lord Jesus, it would be you. Look what they did to you, and look what we still do to you. We betray you all the time. And yet you never leave us or forsake us. So Holy Spirit, I ask you in Jesus' name to show individuals specific things that have to change, that have to be released for their lives to kick in the way that you intended. Whether it's some addiction, some bitterness, some bitter root, whatever it is, that we would take whatever it is and lay it at the foot of the cross and walk away free. There's too many people hurting, Lord, some of it us along the way. But there's too many people who will be lost forever in a real hell if we don't get our stuff together by letting you be all you want to be in and through us. You're the best. It sure will be nice to see you. Nothing like being with you. I'm sure heaven's an extraordinary place, but there'll be nothing there like you. And our prayer is even so, come Lord Jesus. And we pray it in his name. Amen. So if you're not in this room watching or listening somewhere and you made a big decision maybe to trust Jesus, if you'll send us an email, reunion@reunionchurch.org, and just say either I got more questions or I prayed and I have more questions, let us help you. That's why we're here. We're not just trying to introduce you to somebody. We want to help you get to know him, and there are ways to do that. So please let us hear from you, rejoice with you in what decision you made. If you're in the room, you got this registration card about almost to the bottom. There's some places you could have checked off. One of them says, I prayed today to receive the gift of eternal life. If maybe this was your day in this place, it says it could have happened other places. You can check those off too. But if it did happen today, you don't have a pen even, just tear off those 3 little crosses in the bottom right-hand corner, fold it up, put it in the baskets when they come by. And it's just an indication that you made the biggest decision a human being can ever make in their life. So congratulations on that, if it happened today or just you never told anybody. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. So we got people with baskets back here. You know, the disaster, I think I said something the other day about tithing not being in the New Testament. I didn't say giving's not in the New Testament. So just a clarification there. So if you thought that meant you were off the hook, you are the only hook we have. So we appreciate your faithfulness ultimately to him in that regard. Hey, Matthias, did you hear your name today? Matthias, did you know that I love you? Wouldn't it be a shame to get to have heaven? And discover that Matthias had left a bigger dent than me. God help us. Did we do the offering? I don't remember. Did that already happen?
Richard?
Yeah.
Let me say something real quick.
Yeah.
Y'all have me on up there?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take a minute. I guess I'm an elder here, so I can take some pastoral privilege too. I love this guy, and I need y'all to know that Richard there's no song and dance here. I've known this man a long time. And his heart for us to be obedient to God is one of the biggest I've ever seen. We've been together a long time, and God still uses him to speak to my life. And we do not need to take for granted the leadership that God has put in him for us. Amen?
You're the best. You're the best. Love you guys. Let's stand up and we'll sing our way out of here. Have a great day.